Jesus said that he would spend 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth, where he referred to the sign of Jonah being given to a wicked generation, where he says that just as Jonah spent 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the huge fish, so must the Son of Man spend 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Now you might instantly translate that as grave. In English would be intuitively pushed towards that, because something's heart might be its inside, its internal sort of thing. But if you look at the Greek of the New Testament, and you look at the word cardia, which is used, and you look at a dictionary which tries to define that word, you'd find that cardia refers to the actual heart, and it also refers to the mind, figuratively, or to the emotional state of one, figuratively, or to the will or power of will, figuratively speaking. So you're not seeing a figurative meaning of the inside of the earth. Also, Jesus was buried in a tomb. He wasn't buried underground. He was buried underground in rock inside of a cave where a large rock was rolled over the cover, over the entrance of the cave. So you have something odd going on. Now, the word earth here is a word which means soil, or which could extend to mean territory or the whole physical world. Now later St. Paul says to put to death the members of the earth, which a modern Bible might translate as what is earthy within you. And then he refers to evil thoughts, sexual desires, or sexual passions, which are disordered and so forth. And there is a contrast between the earth and heaven. Also, mankind is made out of the earth at the start of the Bible. So there's something which relates to the sort of earthy world, the world in which we live, which is associated also with the devil and evil and people being unspiritual. So Jesus says that, like Jonah, he'd spent 3 days and 3 nights, but we know Jesus died on Friday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, having started his crucifixion at something like 9 in the morning. And we know that Jesus was then buried. Now, he would have been buried before the start of the Sabbath, because the Jews calculate the night starting first and then the day, so that Saturday starts where we'd have Friday night. So Jesus was dead on Friday, he was dead on Saturday, and Sunday started at about 6 p.m. on Saturday, so he was dead on Sunday. So that's part of 3 days. And often that's taken as a shorthand that Jesus was simply saying he'd be in the tomb for that amount of time. And that's a very valid way of looking at it. But to shift it slightly, if you actually look at the words which are actually used, and by the by, if you want to say that Jesus was actually crucified on Wednesday, there's no historic basis for that. Some people like to say that, but it's very clear that it's being referred to as the weekly Sabbath within the Bible, and the end of the weekly Sabbath, you hear that when it began to become light, what an English translation would interpret as dawn, but that's not the exact meaning within the Greek. It's simply when it had begun to become light that they approached the tomb and heard from the angel that he had risen and the tomb was empty. Now, if you are looking within that for meaning, you might say, okay, so Jesus spent part of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the tomb, that's 3 days, but why does he say, and 3 nights? Why not simply say 3 days? But he's quoting directly from the Hebrew of Jonah there, where Jonah spent 3 days and 3 nights. Now, if you look at the meaning of the word night, it's quite interesting, because the Bible associates it with evil and darkness and adversity quite a bit. And Jesus in the New Testament said that he would not be seized, because he knew, the New Testament says he knew that his time had not yet come, and that when he was seized, it would be in the night, it would be in darkness. So you have this concept of 3 days, 3 nights, heart of the earth, but not belly of the earth. Surely that would have been a closer metaphor to Jonah. He doesn't say belly of the earth, he says heart of the earth. Now, you know the book of Job, and almost everyone must know it. And the fact that God gives Job over to the power of the devil, and almost instantly people around Job die. Job has all sorts of horrible tragedies happen to him, and yet stays steadfast to God. And Job's considered to be sort of an archetype which links towards the New Testament Jesus in some ways, in that sense. And if we are talking about Jesus being given over to the will of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights, then you might look at Holy Thursday, what the Jews would have considered the Friday night, the night before Friday as a day starts, where Jesus is betrayed by Judas, and where the devil starts having his way with Jesus and destroying him in every way he possibly can, from torture, defamation, false conviction, to eventually death. And if we look at that as the sign Jesus was giving, because the people didn't seem to understand that he was talking about 3 days in the grave, that's something which wouldn't really have made sense to them. But if 3 days were 3 days within the power of the earth, within the power of the devil, within the power of that sort of evil cause and effect, which we see rather than the spiritual world controlled by God, although God, of course, as we know from the Bible, turns everything to the good of those who love him. If that's what Jesus was talking about, then that prophecy makes sense in a literal sense, not simply in a shorthand sort of sense. And I think it makes a lot of sense.